Oh, I've had a pretty decent response, both online and offline. Not a ton, which wouldn't have been expected anyway, to my first video. So I thought I'd post a little follow-up here. I asked people, what would you do first, second, whatever. And of course, you guys have no idea, where I am in the whole process of things. So after I got the car home, I realized I had a bit of an ignition issue. And I was able to determine that this old coil right here is actually just fine. You can see that lovely shiny new green wire there. I did replace the points and condenser, and that definitely took care of the ignition issue. You may also notice that my fuel pump looks pretty clean, and that is because once I got the ignition issue resolved, I realized that I had a leaky fuel pump. So in what will maybe become named or otherwise known as true David fashion, I rebuilt the pump, not using any new parts, but just taking it apart and using progressively finer sandpaper to make the mating surfaces very nice and flat, and cleaning everything thoroughly. The larger diaphragm looked pretty good. The smaller one was not amazing, but they both cleaned up pretty good. And so far, I feel like I have no leaks. And even as I say that, I'm going to show you inside. You might be thinking to yourself, David, how would you know that you have no leaks when you can't even shift your car? Well, there's a funny story behind that, which is I did take it out for a real test drive, and I actually initially did a manual verification, lack of leaking, with simply using my finger to operate the pump. But I did take the car out for a drive, and as I was heading back into my neighborhood, I went to put it into second gear, and had that horrible feeling that you get when you know that you're actually trying to go in reverse, and instead of second gear. And so I realized I needed to adjust the shifter plate, the whatever you call it, the plate that is over the top of your shift lever. Not necessarily the lockout plate for reverse, but yeah, that dude there. And but I decided in that moment, man, maybe I should just go ahead and use the gear that I know I have to get home. And so I drove it the rest of the way home in reverse, and later had some people mention that they noticed me driving home in reverse. And it was a good thing I did that, because when I got it home and I decided, oh, now it's time to rectify my positioning of the shift plate, that was when I realized that my problem was actually much bigger than I realized. And I don't know if this is going to show up or not. I might have to splice in some video. What I'm going to refer to as the collar in the transmission tunnel, where the shift shaft is captured and maintains the basic vertical and horizontal positioning, it just opened right up, and the shift shaft found its new home at the very bottom of the transmission tunnel. So no more shifting for me. Fortunately, I do have a very good friend, which I may have already mentioned, who is a very accomplished welder. I'm sure he's going to be able to help me resolve that issue, and I'll be able to shift again. So 2 days ago, on Saturday, I spent the day underneath the car doing all sorts of fun things, like, now mind you, not all of it was underneath, but I pulled out the hinge bolts and cleaned them up a little bit and got oil onto them, and just kind of evaluated their condition, right? Those are going to be fine. But if you see that dude there that's kind of not so wet looking, well, that's the one that my hex key was wanting to slip inside of. And so I decided, yeah, you know what? When that comes out, I'm going to have to put something else back in its place. So the other ones are good enough. They're going to hold. They're doing their job well, and I'll leave them. But when the time comes, I'll have to get a new one for there. And I started to do the passenger side, but I had to spray some PB on those and let them soak up so I can get them out better. I kind of did the same thing to all the lug nuts. Took them off, wire wheeled the rust off of them and got oil onto them. Used the wire wheel on the back side of the rim that mates up with the hub. And let's see, oh, I did also put some fresh grease into the front end. Oh, let's see, there you go. Grease zerks, and quite a bit went in, so I think that'll be a nice benefit. I pulled out the shift shaft and wire wheeled that. And oh, I pulled the starter, and actually internally it looks really, really good. But there will be a little bit of work to getting that back together and putting it in. And ultimately what I decided the issue is, is my starter isn't really my issue. I have an issue where once I'm running the car for a while and then I try to, kill it and go back and start it again, it doesn't want to start. And I think the fact that I have absolutely no ground strap from the transmission might have something to do with that. So I'll get the starter put back together, I'll install the hard start relay kit, and I'll get a transmission ground strap, and I'll get the shifting fixed, and then I think I will actually be able to drive the car again. So all of these things kind of had to rise to the top of the list of things to do to the car. I already had my own list of all the things that I would have liked to have, done first and second and third, but those things kind of had to jump to the top of the list. So hopefully that'll get me back on the road, and then I'll be able to focus on things like new shock absorbers, because my God, does it need those. Anyway, hope you enjoy this video. Let me know what you think.